It's time now for Perspective, a weekly look at issues important to all of us here in Central Ohio. I'm your host, Clark Donnelly. This is the second day of 2011, and if you are the type who makes New Year's resolutions, one of your resolutions might be to quit smoking. And the next couple of interviews we're going to be with here on Perspective may convince you and push you right off the fence. First up, we want to say good morning to Shelly Kiser. She's Director of Advocacy for the Ohio Lung Association. Shelly, thanks a lot for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I want to talk to you about the Surgeon General's report that came out early in December, and it was a bit of an eye-opener for those of us who think that a little bit of smoke doesn't do us any harm. This report should have changed our minds, shouldn't it?
Yes, it should have. They gave some information to show that there is no safe level of exposure to tobacco smoke, and we understand now why that's true. It showed that just a small amount of smoke exposure does some things to your body that are very harmful. What it does is leads to a very rapid change to your lining and inflammation of the lining of the blood vessels in your lungs. And what that happens with that is that you can have a heart attack or stroke in a very short period of time of exposure to secondhand smoke. So even that low-level exposure to secondhand smoke is doing strange things to your blood vessels and making it easy to clot, those blood clots to happen. So just that short exposure is dangerous for people.
The report delineated a lot of different things that are in cigarette smoke. I was amazed at the number of things that are in a puff of cigarette smoke.
Yeah, there are more than 7,000 chemicals. Hundreds of those chemicals are toxic. 69 of these we know are cancer-causing. And so when you breathe in, your lungs take those chemicals into your lungs, and then it's put into your bloodstream, and those chemicals go throughout your bloodstream. And one of the things we now know, kind of how that works on your body, is that those go all throughout your body and attack every part of your body. And, we have white blood cells, and those are kind of the cells that keep out infections and things like that. So the count of those white blood cells goes up when you have things like infections, inflammation, or cancer. So when you're smoking, your white blood cells are always high because they're always fighting the damage that's going on throughout your body, because those toxins all those chemicals are taken throughout your body in your bloodstream. So the smoking is constantly damaging your body, constantly keeping those white blood cells high all the time, and can weaken your immune system really throughout time, because your body's on high alert all the time because those chemicals are spread throughout your body. Some
of these actually attack the DNA, don't they?
Yes, they change your DNA, and that's the reason why we end up getting cancer. And it's more cancers than you really think of. People often say, well, my father or my brother didn't die of smoking because they did get lung cancer, but it causes cancers of the pancreas, cancers of the stomach, the kidney, the cervix, the bladder. In fact, 1/3 of all cancer deaths in the country are caused by smoking. So it really goes through and damages a lot of your body. In fact, even if you don't have a tobacco-related cancer, one of the things the report found is that with any cancer, even those not related to tobacco, smoking can decrease the benefits of chemotherapy and other cancer treatment, and that tobacco smoke helps tumors grow. So even if you're not being treated for a tobacco-related cancer, you want to stop smoking because it's going to work against your being treated and you're getting better from cancer.
If you are a man or woman of childbearing or child-rearing age, smoking has a negative impact, something I did not know, on fertility.
Yes, it does. It makes you less likely to be able to, as a woman, to get pregnant. As a man, you can damage the DNA in your sperm, which would reduce your fertility, and also harm the fetus that you would create. For a woman, it makes it more likely that you're going to miscarriage. It damages the development of your fetus also, and makes you more likely to have a low birth weight baby. So it damages the whole spectrum from before you're pregnant to during pregnancy and during the birth, and after they're born, the child can have all sorts of problems because of that smoking.
18,500 Ohioans die every year. $4.37 billion in health care costs just in this state alone. And the report addressed as well design changes in cigarettes. You know, the better it's a better cigarette out there, which means it's a deadlier cigarette, isn't it?
Yes. Unfortunately, the tobacco industry has made a lot of design changes to the cigarettes to make them more addictive, to kind of get the nicotine into your bloodstream faster, kind of like freebasing the nicotine so that you get the kick a lot faster, and has made them more addictive to people, so that they have a harder time getting off of them, an easier time getting addicted to them. We're now finding that adolescents, this report says adolescents are more easily addicted because of their physiology, because of the way they're made. They've come out with new products that are supposedly lower risk. The ones that are labeled light, mild, low tar that we found out that are no better for them. In fact, what they've done is just the opposite, because people that would maybe have quit don't quit because they think they have a product that's safer for them, or people that start smoking because they think that's a lesser risk product. So a lot of these different changes in the tobacco or other products have really been bad because they've kept people addicted or got people to use things that they normally wouldn't, or kept people from stopping because they thought they were safer.
And as you mentioned, the kids are more susceptible to that due to the physiology of their brain, and 18,000 adolescents try cigarettes for the first time every year. Just in Ohio alone, that's 1 out of 5 kids in our state. So what does this report then lead you to advocate? You are the director of advocacy, and you took a look at this report. What would the Lung Association like to see happen now in our legislators, in our government, in order to address some of the facts that have been brought to light as a result of this report?
Well, we're really at a crisis in tobacco here in Ohio. We've seen a leveling off or raising of smoking rates here in Ohio. And one of the reasons is that we've stopped our funding of tobacco prevention and cessation programs. A few years ago, we had a really great program where we had good funding, and we had a lot of great things going on in the states, and our tobacco use rates were really plummeting, especially among youth. They were going down incredibly. Then we pulled most of the money away, and we saw things kind of stagnate. And as of June 30th, we have completely cut all tobacco prevention and cessation funding. So it's very disappointing, and we saw rates stagnate. We actually saw the high school rates for the first time go up a tiny bit. So, this is very disappointing. We need to make an investment. We came in last among states for our funding of tobacco prevention and cessation. That's shameful. We need to do an investment. The tobacco industry spends $1.5 million a day in Ohio marketing its product. If we don't put some money to counteract that, of course our kids don't have a chance. So we are asking the legislature to invest in tobacco prevention and cessation programs. Also asking them to do something that's one of the very best ways to get youth to stop smoking is to increase the price of tobacco products by making the taxes higher. Our taxes now are getting low because other states raised them. They lose value because they're flat taxes. They don't raise with like the price, like sales tax go up as the prices goes up because they're a percent. The cigarette taxes are not, so we're asking them to raise the tax. That would be an easy way to fund these programs. So there's a number of things they could do that would really make a big difference and wouldn't cost them anything because they can fund it via the tax. All those things would work together to reduce rates. And it's absolutely crucial that we do that right now.
With an $8 billion budget deficit looming, I would think that unusually a tax increase would get a sympathetic ear at the State House. If you can pay for a tobacco program but also raise some money for the state that's running short of money, do you feel like you'll get a sympathetic ear?
Well, we're hoping so. We'll see. I think it just makes an awful lot of sense. The states that have the highest taxes have the lowest smoking rates among their youth. It's a CDC best practice. That's one of the things they suggest because it's so incredibly effective in reducing smoking rates among youth. So I can't imagine that they wouldn't take that as a good thing to do. We're also asking them to raise the price of the other tobacco products, which is things that aren't cigarettes. That is another area where we're seeing incredible growth, especially among youth. Some of those new tobacco products like hookah and little cigars, roll your own, pipes are even making it come back, especially among youth. A lot of those are even less regulated than cigarettes. So they come in flavors like sour apple, cherry, berry. You can get bubblegum flavored hookah. You can get chocolate chip cookie dough hookah. So these are things that are clearly marketed at youth, and so these are even better that we start taxing them at the same rate, at least, as cigarettes.
Pipes and cigars, these have been proven to be just as troublesome as cigarettes, although they don't seem to get studied as often, or we don't hear about them as often. Are they as dangerous as cigarettes?
Almost definitely. They all have the same, like pipes, hookah, and roll your own, the little cigars, they have the same health risks. In fact, some of the health risks are even worse because, for instance, hookah is an ancient, Middle Eastern form of smoking that is kind of a social thing. We see it a lot on campuses nowadays. Down in Ohio State, they have hookah lounges, and people will sit around for hours and smoke these kind of, it's a social thing. It's very popular among college students and high school students. And they can smoke the equivalent of 100 cigarettes because they'll sit there for hours and smoke these things. They'll also pass around, you pass around a little nozzle and share that, so you have the risk of communicable diseases being passed around. So they can have more dangerous effects than a cigarette. The same with a cigar. It can be smoked for a longer period of time because it's larger, so you can get more, carcinogens because you smoke it for a longer period of time. So there's definitely big risks involved in smoking those things, but there's a lot of misconceptions. People think hookah is less dangerous because it goes through water. That doesn't do anything to reduce carcinogens. Or it's flavored, and that, again, doesn't do anything to reduce the level of chemicals in that.
For those folks out there who do want to quit smoking or later in this year may, decide to make that decision, what sort of resources are available to them, and what sort of tips do you have and good advice you have for helping someone kick this habit?
Well, there are, at the Lung Association, they can call 1-800-LUNG-USA, and we have counselors who will help them, certified counselors, also nurses if they want to talk about any of their lung health problems or diseases that they may have. That's 1-800-LUNG-USA. We also have an online program that they could do, which is Freedom from Smoking. That's FFS Online, Freedom from Smoking Online. They can also call the Ohio Quit Line, which is 1-800-QUIT-NOW. We have that through June 30th, and then if we don't get further funding, if the state doesn't get further funding, we'll be the first state to not have a quit line, so we're hoping that we don't get that dubious distinction. But for now, we have it, and that does come. People can get that. They will give you 2 weeks of free nicotine replacement therapy.
All right.
So there are some good, the lung quit line won't go away, but we're hoping the state quit line doesn't go away either. We'll get some funding for that. One of the things I would say is, don't give up trying. I know people sometimes say, well, I tried to quit and it wouldn't work. People usually take multiple quit attempts. Nicotine is one of the most addictive drugs out there. It's not easy to quit. It usually takes multiple quit attempts. Don't give up trying. Continue to try. It might take you a couple times, but you can get there. And as we've learned from all the things from the Surgeon General's report, it's definitely a good thing to try. The earlier you can quit, the better, because the longer you do it, the more likely you are to suffer some of these illnesses from smoking.
But as I've always understood it, you can begin to recover pretty quickly too. Once you have quit smoking, your body does tend to repair itself. It won't undo damage maybe in some areas that has already been done, but your lung cells will begin to rejuvenate, and you'll start feeling better.
Right. You do start to feel better quickly, and some of the damage starts to be undone. Things start to be undone within weeks. So it's good to start as soon as possible, and you will start to feel better immediately. And the quicker, the better. So go ahead and start doing that. It's never too late. It's never too late to start. You haven't ever gotten to the point where it won't benefit you to stop.
Shelly Kiser is Director of Advocacy for the American Lung Association of the Midland States. Once again, the numbers she gave out, 800-LUNG-USA and 800-QUIT-NOW. If you want to find out more about the report from the Surgeon General, their website is surgeongeneral.gov. And if you want to find out more about the Lung Association and any of the programs or some of the tips that they may have or any of the other resources, their website is ohiolung.org. Shelly Kiser, thanks a lot for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.